Howdy, folks. How's it going? Rosendo from MLH here. Let me just turn off this music. Welcome, welcome. Let us know where you're joining us from the world. So, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to everyone out there. Really excited to be kicking off Global Hack Week API Week with an awesome workshop from our friends at Figma. All right. Looks like we got some questions already coming in. So, just give me a second here. Let some folks get into the get and access everything that they need to access. Make sure that you do register and check in. The link is scrolling on the bottom of the page there. And you could also use the QR code that's pictured on the screen. Awesome. Hello from LA. So, good morning to you. Good evening to my folks from India. Amazing Sri Lanka. That's nice. Hellos from NY. Same here. So, yeah, I'm joining you. It's 12 p.m. right now. uh, Great East Coast weather we're getting. New York City is looking nice and getting ready for the weekend. We've got folks from VA, Kenya. That's amazing. Denver. Oh, we've got a person saying hi to me, particularly. All right. We've got Lawrence. Is that a place or a name? I need to kind of get some additional clarification there. And for Lucky, I do have your question flagged here. So I'll make sure to cover it as we get to that part of the workshop itself. So no worries. All right. It looks like we've got most of the folks in here. I hope y'all enjoyed opening ceremony with Alex and Siddharth. I'm sure it was very entertaining. Always great to see other folks on the team getting in touch with the community itself. I just want to say thank you all. You are my beloved people, my Global Hack Week hackers, my Global Hack Week homies. Today we're going to be learning about Figma. So Figma is an awesome design tool. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. Today we're going to be learning design with Dev Mode. So once again, if you haven't yet, make sure that you check in and register using either the QR code or the link that's up on the screen. All right, awesome. If we are ready to go, let's go ahead and do it. All right. So, just a few notes before we get started. This is all this. I'm going to cover all of the things that we're going to be doing over the next 45 minutes. If there's any time towards the end, or I could even stick a little bit after the top of the hour, I'll go through some of the challenges that Figma has for Global Hack Week this week and kind of walk you through how to do them. So there's going to be a little bit of bonus content right after the workshop. So be sure to stick around. So in the next 30 minutes, we're going to get access to Figma education. We're going to learn the basics of Figma design. We're going to design a quick web project. And in the last 30 minutes, we're going to get ready for development on that project. So we're going to get our project ready for development, or in other words, RFD. We're going to convert the design to code. So we're going to be using HTML and CSS for this. And then yeah, we're just gonna kind of like work on the functionality and kind of clean it up a bit. Really, like, I think y'all are going to find Dev Mode to be super easy to use. It's extremely helpful when you're bringing your designs to a development environment. And really, like, you don't have to have any type of experience to work, or design experience, pardon, to work with Figma. If you're a complete beginner, you're going to be learning everything that you need to learn today just to get started. So, yeah, if you have questions, make sure you drop them in the chat. I'll be answering the questions throughout the workshop. And yeah, let's kick it off because I'm really excited to get everyone started with Figma. All right. So quick question. Who here has used or has heard of Figma before? Let me know in the chat. I know there's a little bit of a delay, but looking forward to kind of getting some hands raised to see who is kind of familiar with it. We've got some folks over here. Awesome. Yeah, if you haven't heard of Figma before, or if this is your first time like actually getting hands on with Figma, you really need to understand that it's something that so many companies use. It's a really prevalent tool and platform within the tech industry. So even if you don't want to get into design, and maybe like, front end development is not your particular forte, you want to focus more on the back end, just having context about what Figma does and how it's utilized within the entire like development process and development lifetime cycle is going to give you an edge when you're actually getting into the workplace, because you'll understand all of the workings of the entire stack. So from ideation all the way to design and implementation, Figma is going to be a tool that is probably used throughout that entire process. So it's definitely something that is going to be helpful. Yeah. So if you've not heard of Figma before, Figma is actually a cloud-based design platform, and it's primarily used for creating UI UX. But we're going to go into some of the other use cases and some of the other products that we have that they have as well. So the first up is going to be Figma Design. Figma Design is actually the most popular product that Figma currently uses. It's used by designers worldwide, as I mentioned before, and a ton of different companies. And really, it's a popular design platform. And one of the reasons for that is because it's a web-based application, so it's going to be accessible to anyone or any device, for that matter, that currently has a web browser. So it's really useful for designing websites, mobile apps, or other internet doohickeys that you want to make pretty. So definitely something that you can, utilize after this workshop and throughout your entire career. Next up, we have FigJam. So FigJam is going to be your digital whiteboard canvas and notepad. It's one of the best tools for ideating, brainstorming, and planning things in really collaborative environments. Basically, you can go in there with your entire team and you could start working on frameworks. You could start working on workflows. You could start working on just like, the design of your actual product collaboratively by adding notes and adding notepads and things like that. It's a really great way for anyone to go in and collaborate with a team. So think of hackathons, think of class meetings. Anytime that you're actually jumping in to a group setting, it's going to be something that is helpful in terms of getting everyone's ideas up on the board and viewable for everyone. Like you could use this for like games at home as well, like any large gatherings where maybe you're struggling to decide what you want to eat for lunch or for dinner. It's also another great way to kind of crowdsource information and ideas. All right, let me check for any questions. Awesome. Yeah. Andy Drew says his clients use it all the time, so he's picked up a thing or two, or you've picked up a thing or two. That's really awesome. Like I said, it's a really prevalent tool. It's something that is very useful to know if you are getting into tech. All right, next we have Figma Slides. I'm actually using Figma Slides right now. It's very much like Google Slides, Microsoft PowerPoint, but it also has design features, the same type of design features that you would use in Figma itself. So it helps you present your intent through design. You can embed widgets. You can gather feedback during presentations. You could also embed prototypes that are especially useful for your class or portfolio presentations. I know the end of the semester is coming up, so definitely check that out if you are going to do a big presentation. Next, we have Figma Dev Mode. So Figma Dev Mode is actually going to be one of the other tools that we're going to be learning to use today. So it's not your normal developer copilot. As you design, you could switch over to dev mode and use code generation to get useful information like HTML or CSS for the components that you're building in Figma. So it's not like basically you're designing with intent here. You're creating a component in the Figma design area. Then you could turn on Figma dev mode and actually see what the underlying HTML and CSS would be in order for you to get that up on the web. If you're building with other frameworks, you can also install third-party extensions to generate code. So think of like Tailwind, React, Django, things like that. And then, really, it's just a really helpful tool to use, especially if you're doing mobile application development. You can switch from iOS to Android. So if you're using Swift, you could switch over to Kotlin or Android Studio, whatever it is that you're using. And it has a ton of other features as well. So annotations, measurements, you could see the component version history. So if you're familiar with Git, you'll know that Git is a versioning tool. You could actually see all of the different changes that have been made to specific components and the timestamp on them. So once again, if you're collaborating with a team, this is really useful information to have. And they also have a VS Code extension and other workflow plugins. I'm hoping to be able to show y'all that a little bit later, and especially if we have time later on at the end of the workshop, I'll also try to demo that live for y'all. Okay. So yeah, today, like I said, we'll learn and build using Figma Design and Dev Mode. Let me see if we have any questions in the chat real quick. All right. Oh, so we're getting a lot of really cool comments here, folks that have heard of some of this stuff but never used it. Yeah, I mean, if you've been a janky Figma user for years, I'm probably in the same boat. I kind of use it just willy nilly, like like to design certain things for websites. But today you're going to get a much more in depth look into the actual capabilities of the platform and how you could utilize them as a software developer. All right. Can you create slides similar to the slides we create in Mentimeter? I'm actually not familiar with Mentimeter, but yes, you could like the slides that you're seeing right now are slides that are actually created in Figma. So, check it out. You'll have access to it as soon as you get your Figma account set up and then also your Figma education account set up. So definitely cool. Definitely something that you can kind of like follow back up on and let us know. Dev mode to write code in HTML and CSS. You don't write the HTML and CSS in dev mode. Dev mode generates the HTML and CSS for you. And you'll see that a little bit later in the presentation. We're going to kind of get into that. How to get dev mode, not to worry. We are going to cover that a little bit later in the workshop. So I'll come back to this. And if you have any additional questions once we get to that point, do let me know. Oh, hell yeah. Really hyped to start and actually learn this. Yes, definitely. I am hyped as well. What if I'm not into design too much? How is it going to help? If you're not into design, other people are, and you'll be collaborating with those people, as I mentioned before. If you're just a back end developer or a software engineer that works maybe the full stack, you'll need to collaborate with designers in your professional life in order to like understand what the UI and the UX of your application is going to be, how it's going to behave for your end users, the type of target audience you're trying to create functionalities for. So this is a really great tool to have at least for that context so that you can, communicate with your design team and also so that they can communicate with you effectively. And the CSS be converted to SAS or SCSS? Yes. So that, like I mentioned before, they have Tailwind in there. They have other plugins that you can use to kind of convert to different types of CSS frameworks. So definitely something that we'll briefly take a look at towards the end. I don't have an edu email. Can I still get Figma? I signed up for the Figma education account using my Major League Hacking email and also my Gmail account. So no worries there. You should be able to get in. Just make sure that you fill out the application. We'll get to that a little bit later as well. Um, and here we've got without prior knowledge of front end framework, is it a good idea to start with Figma? Um, you're not going to get a lot of education around how to actually code in a specific framework if you're thinking like React or Django or React Native or any other like web-based language framework that you're going to be using. It's not going to be the greatest place to start if you're looking to actually code in those frameworks. However, it is a great place to start in terms of actually designing components for those frameworks. So let's say like you're learning React for the first time and you want to learn how to style your components in React. It's a little bit different if in terms of like if you're using just vanilla JavaScript and HTML and CSS. So actually getting the code generation for React is going to be helpful because there are a ton of different plugins and different ways that you can actually design your components in React. So this is kind of like a shortcut for you, and I'll show you a little bit more about that later as well. All right, let's see if we have anything else. Can I design my portfolio using dev mode and then convert? Yeah, you could definitely convert to Tailwind code. There are a ton of different plugins, and I will show y'all that later. I love the questions. Please keep them coming. But for now, we're going to move on to the next slide, and I'm going to give you the why. So, as I mentioned before, Figma is an industry standard. It's a go-to collaborative design tool for the majority of Fortune 500s and startups. We use Figma at MLH. So, we collaborate with our design team, and the design team gets back to us with Figma components and Figma templates that we utilize. You'll see some of them actually active on the Global Hack Week website. So it's definitely something that a lot of folks in the tech industry use. Nowadays, it's really hard to find a company that doesn't use Figma somewhere in their design process. So it's really really one of the biggest perks of learning Figma is that you're able to leverage their design systems and design kits, and you're going to be doing so in your likely doing so, or someone on your team will be doing so in your professional career. So definitely a good tool to know and a good skill to have. So Figma has an entire community of design libraries and kits for you to use. You could choose from your favorites. It's Apple iOS, iPad OS UI kit, Google's Material 3 design kit, or Figma's simple design system. Really, the main thing to keep in mind here is that utilizing any of these design kits is going to save you a lot of time in the future. You're not starting from scratch, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're going to be, basically taking things that are utilized very widely and then adding your own spin to them. So we'll see a little bit more about that later on. But for now, we're going to dive into more details about iOS 18 and iPad OS. So, really, like, this is Apple's official design system. If you ever wanted to build an application that is going to be sold on the on the Apple application store, or I forgot what it's called. At any rate, like if you're downloading an application from the Apple Store, they all have a very similar look and feel, and they all comply to some design standards that Apple is pretty strict with. So if you wanted to really get a leg up in terms of developing those applications, this is a great way to start because you'll be able to follow Apple's design guidelines and deliver consistent experience across other devices. Here we have the Material 3 design. It's by Google. So once again, very similar to, like, the other standards that we talked about in, like, in the Apple Store. Here you're going to be doing things that are very much in line with the way other Android applications are actually built, the look and feel of them. So it really includes a lot of ready-made components, styles, and layouts, and you could build something that's user-friendly and have your app kind of like, fit in with the rest, but then also stand out with your own personal and unique flair. So once again, another good design kit to keep in the back of your mind. And lastly, we have the Simple Design System by Figma. It's a really clean, easy to use design system. It's built for Figma specifically. So it's the good thing about this is you could jump into Figma, use this design kit, and it's really going to be able to give you some visually pleasing results using some of the templates that they have. And it's perfect for anyone that's getting started with the platform for the first time, or for anyone who is, familiar with it and using it in a professional setting already. So I know a lot of you are thinking, like, AI is such a big tool to use for productivity and just for leveling up in terms of worker in tech. So why not just use something like ChatGPT or Gemini to go in and create these designs for you? Well, first of all, Figma is all about designing and getting things that are completely original and having your ideas come to life. So yes, you can probably generate a quick graphic or something like that in ChatGPT or in Gemini, but really here, what you'll be able to do is you're going to be able to design your product specific to the use case that you have, and then you'll be able to go back and edit them at a later point in time. By designing with Figma, you really have a lot more opportunities to think and design towards your specific application use case and your end users. So, how does this work in the real world? Most online products, as I mentioned before, are designed by teams that use Figma. So during that entire process of designing, designers hand off their designs to developers, and then the developers convert them to code that's actually going to be used in production. So gaining design experience with Figma will actually make you a more marketable engineer. And I'm sure everyone here on the stream would love to kind of get their first opportunity, or maybe their second or third opportunity in tech in terms of advancing your career. Like I said before, this is going to be a great tool for you to use and for you to, like, a skill to have on your like little hacker tool belt in order to make you more marketable. So definitely stick around and learn more. Finally, before we begin, we're going to cover where we can use Figma and how we could get access to dev mode. But yeah, as far as where you could use Figma, you could basically use it anywhere. Like, here we have all of the major web browsers. As I mentioned, it's a web application. So any device with a browser, you're able to access it on. And also VS Code, which I'll show you in a little bit. They have actually got a VS Code plugin that's really useful. You could actually just bring your Figma design directly into your IDE. So it's also one of the challenges this week. I'll show you how to complete that challenge towards the end. Once again, where can I use Figma? You could use it in your web browser. You could use it on your desktop and mobile. Mobile, really interesting, right? Who thought that you could actually go in and create an internet component, a web component on your phone and then send it over to your design team. Really useful and really interesting. And once again, VS Code. Using an extension, you get everything you need directly into your IDE. And here, once again, we're going to get access to Figma Dev Mode. So let's discuss it. I know we've had a lot of different questions, so I'm going to go in and actually look at the questions. But for now, everyone on the stream, I'd like you to go in and apply for Figma Dev Mode using Figma's education plan. So you're going to go ahead and travel over all the way over to the link that is pictured on the screen here. I'll actually drop it as a banner as well. Here we go. All right. And let me know if you want that in chat. I could drop it in there for you. Yeah, sign up, apply for free, and let me know if you're having any issues. Basically, once you apply and once you get accepted into the education tenant, what's going to happen is you're going to go in and create a team on Figma and create a project on Figma. So you don't need to add anyone to your team. That's not necessary. You would just name your project something, and then you would basically enable that specific project for dev mode. And for anyone that's out there, once you get that screen that says you've been accepted, that's pretty much confirming that you are part of the Figma education plan now. So if you're getting signed up for Figma for the first time, obviously do that. What I would suggest is if you have VS Code or GitHub or anything like that, and you have an email that is already associated to that account, use the same email so that everything is sort of like seamlessly connected with one another in terms of your access. That way, for later uses of Figma, you can kind of have everything kind of seamlessly connect with one another in terms of your GitHub, in terms of your VS Code, anything that you purchase in Marketplace, in terms of plugins that involve your IDE. That's going to be something that comes in pretty handy, or at least that's what I've noticed from a personal standpoint. Yeah, thank you, Praj. Let me look at some of the chats here, some of the questions. Okay, just scrolling up a little bit. What are we going to learn today? I think I've covered that already. People looking forward to the stream. Looking forward to you enjoying the stream. App Store, there you go. Thank you so much. Happy birthday, 67. I appreciate you. All right. Figma used for learning front end dev. It's used for learning design. It can if you use Figma Dev Mode collaboratively with your your development process, it's definitely something that could help you in terms of writing code and in terms of generating code, because you can see samples of the actual way that your CSS or your SCSS sort of intertwines with the components you'd be building online. So it's definitely something that it won't hinder you from learning front end development for sure. It could actually be helpful, but I wouldn't say that it's the foremost tool to learn front end development. It's definitely one of the tools you could use. Shoham asks, "Is it heavy on PC?" It's on the web. It's on the web. It's a web application. So as long as you've got a solid internet connection, I think you should be just fine. Is it possible to integrate FM with Figma? I'm actually not sure what you mean by FM. If you want to go ahead and drop an additional comment to kind of clarify, I'd be happy to answer your question. Okay. We got folks dropping the link in chat for me. I appreciate that. Where can we find the Apple Figma template you just showed? Yes, so you're going to go into Figma and look for design kits. I will show you how to do that later on, because it is actually part of some of the challenges that we'll be doing for Global Hack Week throughout the week. So I will park this question. I'm going to give it a star and come back to it later. Will there be a recording of this posted? Yes, it's going to be on our YouTube channel. So definitely check that out. Everything gets recorded in terms of Global Hack Week workshops and live streams. So any of the live streams you're watching this weekend, you will be able to, go in and check them out a little bit later. Which plan do we choose? Not 100% sure which plan you're referring to, but choose the free one. All right. I don't have a college email. You don't need a college email. You could use your personal email. Like I said, use the email that is associated to your like VS Code account and your GitHub account, because it'll make things a lot easier for you later on. How does Figma generate? I will. I don't know how it does it on the back end or under the hood, but it's a fairly simple process to show you once we do get to that part of the workshop. Foundational model. I'm actually not sure. We could Google it a little bit later towards the end of the workshop, and like let's dig into it. I'll put a star on this as well. Maybe we can Google it together and see what we find. We can't join if we aren't a student right now. If you have been a student in the past, I think you just put your most recent school that you've attended. Here's another quick tip. I'm gonna drop a link in the chat for y'all. It's an instructional video on how to get signed up if you are having issues. So head over to this link here. This is actually provided to us by our friends at Figma. So definitely check out the video if you're having any issues with getting started. And yeah, if your college is not listed in the dropdown, you could just write it in. So I think there is an option where you could just write in the educational institution that you're a part of. For me specifically, I went to college a very long time ago, so I put Major League Hacking. All right. So we've got everyone signed up, or at least on the route to getting signed up. I hope everyone has a successful time at that. If you're in high school, that is fine. Just like I said, use use the college that you'll be attending next semester, if that's the case. All right. So next, let's briefly go over the basics of Figma design. Remember, you don't need to be a designer to use Figma, and learning these skills are going to really be essential for you as a developer. So let's jump right into it. This is what the Figma layout is going to look like for you. All of the design files have 4 distinct regions on the canvas toolbar. On the canvas, all 4 distinct regions. So you're going to have the canvas, the toolbar, and the left and the right sidebars. So a little bit later, I'm going to be jumping back and forth between the slides and also just a standard like Figma layout. So you'll see how we interact with everything and build stuff within Figma a little bit later. All right. So yeah, if you take everything, you could pan in and zoom in and out of the canvas using the controls listed on the screen here. Did I skip anything? No, I did not. So yeah, think of the canvas as your working area. You could use your mouse. You could use the scrolling button that's on your mouse. You could use your trackpad. There are a lot of different options. What I would suggest is jump in and kind of play around with it and get yourself acclimated. After a little bit of time, you're going to get the muscle memory that actually makes this a whole lot more intuitive for you. But I think generally speaking, it's a pretty intuitive workflow and just like user experience. So let's focus on the toolbar. This is where almost every tool that you're going to be using for the purposes of this demo are going to be located. So we've got a little legend here that kind of shows you the functionalities of every single tool here. If you want, you could take a screenshot of this so you could reference it later. There's also participant slides if you did in fact go in and register and check in for the workshop on our registration page. So you could download the registration slides and have that as reference as well. On the left sidebar is where you manage and organize objects in relation to one another. So think of any type of file structure. If you are familiar with whatever IDE you're using, for instance, if you're using like VS Code, Atom, and anything where you're developing, there is a file structure, and it's very much similar here. So you're going to have different files, and some of them are going to be nested. Some of them are going to be on the same level as one another, and that's sort of going to determine what like the Z index of those files when you're actually viewing them on the canvas. So definitely make sure you take a look at the options that are there. The most notable options that you should be paying attention to are going to be pages and layers. The right sidebar is where you edit the properties of your object. It's also where the dev mode sort of like code is going to be generated as well. This right sidebar, is going to be primarily for designing and editing the objects that you've designed, along with basically altering the properties or managing interactions. So think of like animations and things like that. We're not necessarily going to get into that this time around, but it's definitely something to bear in mind for the future. There are a ton of different things that you could use with Figma or use Figma for, and a ton of different functionalities that we're not going to be able to cover today. So if you want to learn more, definitely visit the link that's up above, Figma resources. Definitely, you know, take a look and see, and you'll basically get a little bit more in depth sort of overview of what you can actually utilize the platform for when you're building a project at a hackathon, for instance, or when you're just using this on your personal time. A lot of different tricks to learn. So definitely check that out. And let's get into it. We're going to start building a UI card project. So now that we know the fundamentals of Figma design, we're going to build this project together. And once we complete the basics, we'll build a website with designs using Figma Dev Mode. So really cool stuff, really entertaining. Before we jump into that, I'm just going to take a look and see if we have any questions. All right. You can join if you aren't a student right now. If you were a student in the past, use your most recent educational institution that you were a part of. If you already have an account, you can continue to use that, but be sure to sign in through using the link that we have so that you can apply for the free education account. If you don't, if it doesn't let you, what I would say is, try to spin up a different account. Um, it's going to be hit or miss. I'm not 100% sure how it's going to behave for every single person on the call, but I do know that, like I said, I'm not currently in school and I have an account there, so definitely check that out. My verification failed. A little help. All right, so what I'm going to suggest for the folks who get a failed verification and are unable to do so, drop a screenshot into the Twitch channel that we have. Not the Twitch channel, the Discord channel that we have. It's called Ask Figma, and I will go in there and help triage for you. I won't be able to do it while I'm presenting and doing the workshop live, but I will be able to do so after. So make sure you drop any issues that you're having, especially with sign up there. And if you'd like, you could actually open up a ticket for it as well. All righty, scrolling down a little bit. Thank you for sharing the links. Verification is not happening. Yes, please just drop a screenshot and show us what your issues are. Mention your school/college's websites. Yes, do that. You don't need to have a specific edu email, so thank you. Yes. If you don't have a syllabus, just like I said, when I verified in, I dropped in a link of the schedule for Global Hack Week. You should create a new team. Make sure you create a new team. You don't need to add anyone to the team, but just make sure you create a new one, and also create a new project. So that project is going to be the one that you enable for use with like any of the free products that we have. You're going to have to go back and forth between Figma and your email account to kind of confirm everything. So make sure that you're just like paying attention to your email, especially the one that you use to sign up. All right, so it looks like we did get a bit of an answer to someone's question previously. They also got a verification failed, but after clicking the show more details or something button, they just had to re-enter the school's website and it worked. So just make sure, play around with it a little bit. There may be some pain points here and there, but at the end, you should be able to get signed up and yeah, utilize some free dev mode stuff. And like I said, if you're not able to follow along step by step with this live stream, you'll be able to go back and rewatch it. And also, I'm going to be taking my time today. There isn't another stream that's directly scheduled right after this one. So, if we take an extra 15 minutes, no one's gonna mind. So yeah, my job, I'm going to take it nice and easy, nice and slow, and make sure that everyone here has at least next steps in mind when in terms of like getting signed up and just getting unblocked. Love the questions, y'all. Please keep them coming. I'm going to go ahead and move us forward here. So once again, yeah, we're going to be designing something. So let's start by creating a simple text box. And I'm going to show you all how to do that. So we're going to do this quick here. Let's see, where's Figma? Bang. All right. So we're going to do a simple text box. So you're going to click the T here in your command palette. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my first hackathon. I think I'm going to widen this out a little bit. It's already bold. It's already 24, as you can see here. This is where you would go in and actually edit the typography. You could also use keyboard commands. So Command B to unbold if it's already bold, and Command B to bold. All right. So yeah, make sure that you have this cool title already made up. Next step is going to be creating a rectangle above the title that we just had. So let's go ahead and do that. If you want to create a rectangle, what you're going to do is you're just going to drop in here. You could either just click the rectangle if that's the shape displaying that you already want. But if you wanted to go in and create other shapes, you could go in and do so. So let's create this rectangle. I'm going to go ahead and plop it right over this one. Don't worry about the color. It's not really going to be something that you need to worry about right now. I do want to make sure everything is lined up because, like I said before, we're going to be creating a card here. So I want this to be the same length as the length of my text bar here. So cool. So I've got a little rectangle. Let me make it a little higher, a little taller. All right, everyone with me so far? Okay, cool. Yeah, it's the more information button. There you go. Thank you for clarifying. Awesome. All right, so we are chugging right along. We've got a rectangle. We've got we've got a title. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to add some text. So the text is going to be some additional text. So we're going to create another text box here. And by the way, this is like my entire thing is right now is in dark mode. So if it looks a little bit different from yours, not to worry. I actually have some lorem ipsum saved here. So we're just going to go ahead and bring that into the text that I had previously. Should be here. Oh no, it disappeared because I didn't write any text in there. So let's create this, and then let's just go ahead and copy and paste this. Let me zoom back in for y'all. So if you want, you could just go in and, do a lorem ipsum sort of generator yourself. Let me scroll to the bottom here, press enter. Okay, I'm good. I'm going to resize this so that everything kind of fits into the card. And I'm also going to widen everything so that it kind of snaps to the rest of the design. So the cool thing about it is you can see like these red dots kind of popping up. That's how you know everything's lined up with one another. So that's pretty cool. All right. For this, you're going to want to make sure the typography is set to 16. It's not bolded. As you can see, this is just regular. And once again, you're just going to go into typography. Use any type of alignment that you want. For me, I put it in the middle, but if you want it to be left aligned or right aligned, you could do so. I'm also going to put this into the middle of the container as well. And I'm going to scooch this up a little bit. And you'll see here, now everything is kind of like 5 pixels away from one another. So that's pretty cool. All right. Awesome. Got the verification. Love that for you. Really awesome. Yeah. Created a new team, skipped it adding the other people, and created a new project. Awesome. Create a new design file after that. Yes, you're going to want to create a new design file, and you're going to want your design file to look like what I have up on screen right now. So just to recap, we've created a rectangle. Doesn't matter what color it is. We created a title. So the title is just my first hackathon. It's bold, and the font size is 24. And then we created another text box that is also, it's just the regular weight of the font itself, and then it's set to 16. Okay. All right. So now that we have the semblance of these cards put together, we don't want this little box here. We want something that's actually pretty cool, like an image. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the rectangle itself. Then you're going to click on the fill, and from fill, you're going to see that there are some options above. Like you could change the color here, but that's not what we're really aiming at here. There are going to be some icons over here that you can embed different things into. Play around with that yourself, but you're going to want the third one for the purposes of this workshop. You're going to click it and you are going to upload an image. It could be any image. If you don't have one, that's fine. Grab one off the internet and plop it in there. For me, I am going to use one of the images that we have for Global Hack Week. So as soon as that loads up, we'll go ahead and plop it in. Awesome. So yeah, so it's just, you just want it to fill. There are other ways to kind of fit this in. If you wanted to crop it in, you could do that as well. But like, sorry, that's the wrong thing. You could crop it in, and right now I am just moving around the actual size of the box. But yeah, we're going to keep it at fill because that is the easiest thing to do right now. And you can just X out of that. That should be good to go. Everyone with me so far? All right, if you missed this part, it's fine. You could also follow along async just by kind of scrolling back on the live stream. But yeah, this is fairly simple. Like I said, we're just going to go in and create a title. So you click the T, that's on your command palette, and it'll bring up your crosshairs here. And you're just going to go ahead and start dropping in text. And that's how you create text there. So that's really all you need to know for now. Other than that, you have the rectangle. You click on the rectangle that's in your command palette. You create a rectangle to whatever dimensions you want. And then the thing I just did was I just added a picture to it. So basically what you do is you click on the shape, then you go here to fill, and then you can upload an image from your computer. And I'm not going to do that again, but you get the idea. Oh yeah, you could use YouTube to go back, not Twitch. Thank you for pointing that out. Happy birthday, 67. Appreciate you. All right. So now, as you can see, we've got semblance of what a UI card would look like. And, if you're wondering what a UI card is, I was a little bit remiss, didn't really explain it earlier. But if you look at any website, especially like shopping websites, like retail websites, you'll see that all of the products are sort of like in these uniform cards that have a picture and then like a product description and a title as well. This is sort of what we're doing right now. We're just kind of mimicking that piece of the layout. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a frame. So a frame is actually a way of grouping together all of these items here. And I'm actually going to scooch back to the presentation itself so you can see exactly what a frame looks like. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to highlight the entire selection of items that we put together. So the image, the title, and also the text box underneath, and you're going to create a frame. So there are different ways to do this. You could either use the key bindings that you have here, or you can hover over your selection and right click and basically create a frame that way. So let's go back and I'll show you how to do that live. So here, as you can see, I have selected everything. I'm going to right click here and you could frame the selection. That's the way you do it that way. Or you could just Control Alt G and frame everything. Did it work? Control Alt G. Yeah, that's what I did. All right. Well, I could always go in and just frame the selection. All right, so now you've got everything framed. So if you select everything, you'll see that everything is actually moving together as one piece, whereas otherwise it would be sort of like, just like each individual piece that's highlighted. And now, as you can see on your file part of the of Figma, the everything in your frame is grouped together. So that's going to be really helpful later on. So let's just jump back into the presentation. So the good thing about using a frame is because what it does is it takes all of the individual card components and groups it all together, like I've just like demonstrated. And like I said, you could use the hotkeys there. The other thing we're going to do is auto layout. So one of the reasons why we want to group the selection is because we want it to have the same type of layout. So when you make the frame and then basically apply auto layout to it, what it does is it basically puts everything into the same object, like a container that you would use in HTML and CSS. So think of auto layout as the equivalent of maybe using Flexbox, if you're familiar with that. And what this does is it allows us to dynamically organize the items inside of the frame based on the auto layout rules that we provide. So we're going to be altering some of the layout rules in the next step, but the why of this is it's really helpful for allowing applications to organize themselves dynamically, especially when you're looking at them with different platforms or with different devices. So obviously the size of your viewport is going to be different on your phone versus on your laptop versus on your iPad. So this sort of helps the components themselves to change dynamically as the viewports change. Let me see if we have any questions. Hey, in order to get recognized, do we need to do the coding with you? I'm not sure what you mean by recognize, but yes, if you want, you can code along with me. You don't need to. You can watch this at a later point in time and then, put everything together yourself after the fact. But yeah, for the most part, if you want to code along, you can. For challenge completions, there are going to be different types of challenges, but you know, very transparently, if you go through this entire workshop and build this component with me, you'll have already completed some of the challenges, like signing up for Figma education plan and then also building your first component. And a little bit later on, like I said, I'm going to be walking through some VS Code stuff as well. All right, what's the difference between frame and group selection? So group selection is a little bit different. You could actually group everything together if you'd like. It'll do very similar things as a frame will do, but like, you won't be able to alter the properties the same way. Okay. Okay, cool. So it looks like questions are answered here. On to the next slide. You've already applied auto layout. So what we're going to do is we're going to start altering the auto layout properties, like I mentioned before. So the first thing, so basically you're going to see auto layout here on the right side. You're going to make sure that the height is hugging the container or the frame. You're going to make sure everything is vertical aligned. You're going to increase the gap to 6. You're going to make sure the vertical and horizontal padding are 24. So if you're unfamiliar with padding, it is the space between the outside of the container and the objects inside. So I'll go ahead and show you how to do that live here on Figma. So you're going to select your frame, make sure the entire frame is selected. And then you're going to go up to frame. Okay, good. So we've got the frame here. Let me just widen this out for everybody involved. Let me just make sure and reselect everything. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is in the right sidebar under the auto layout section. So here, oh, I haven't applied auto layout. That's why I was confused. All right, there you go. Now that you have auto layout, you are going to increase this to 6, as I mentioned. I'm going to put this in the middle here, and then we're going to boost these up to 24. And as you can see now, it's like all my stuff is like colliding with each other. So I'm just going to increase the size of this so that everything fits correctly. Okay, move that nicely. Ah, it's going to pop out. Okay, oh, and the last thing I forgot to do was hug. That's why it's kind of like all janky. So hug contents, boom, there you go. Anything else? Set the corner. So the last thing we're going to do is we're actually going to set the corner radius to 24. So in appearance, drop down there, corner radius to 24. And what that's going to do is going to round out the edges. And in the appearance section, yes. And then we're going to set the stroke here to 2. And we're also going to change the color. Well, we can change the color, but you want the stroke here. It could be inside or outside. It doesn't really matter. What I want to do also is I want to change the color of like the inside of my frame. So I'm going to select fill. You don't need to do this, but because I'm in dark mode, everything is like defaulting to to white text. So for later, I want to make sure that there's actually a background here. So you can choose to do that if you'd like. I'm just going to pick this random color here. So I've got the red border. I've got the corner radius. As you can see, everything is sort of like rounded out. And then I've got my text. Alrighty. So now that we have everything set up, this is basically the card that we're going to be using. It's within a frame, so that's cool. Next, we're gonna do is we're gonna create a larger frame around this one. So think of a container where all of your cards actually fit in. So that's gonna be the next step. We're just gonna highlight everything, and then we're gonna create another frame. So Shift A, and now we have an even larger frame for our smaller component here for our little card. If I increase this frame, as you can see, the card kind of moves around. The other frame still lives in here. And as you can see, everything is nested once again in your file structure. It's a little bit harder to kind of take a look at, so there you go. So you can see how everything kind of fits together. I'm just going to make this a little bit larger. All right. Now that we've got the larger frame for our smaller component, what we're going to do is we are going to apply auto layout to that frame itself. So once again, we're going to, I've already got it, so cool. So I've already got the auto layout applied, but if you don't have it yet, use Shift A to do so. And here, what we're going to do is we're going to start altering the properties of the auto layout for the larger frame, for the outside frame. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to set the layout to wrap. So here under auto layout, this is vertical alignment, this horizontal alignment. Here we're going to wrap, and then we're going to make sure that it's entirely left aligned, top left aligned. And what that's going to do is it's going to pop this this card all the way to the top left of the container itself. Boom. And then we're going to set the gap to 32. So the gap is going to be the space between each of the cards that we'll have within the larger frame. And then lastly, we're going to switch padding for top and bottom to 64. So as you can see, it's moved everything closer to the middle of the object with that padding. Everyone with me so far? Yeah, you're right. That's why I was confused. Shift A does actually create the frame and add auto layout like automatically. All right. So next, what we're going to do is we are going to just start, we're just going to start creating more cards. And this is really for demonstration purposes mostly. Obviously, when you're creating these components on your own, you'll have different content for each of them. But the best way to do this is just to hover over the existing frame that you have, or the card, the smaller frame, and Command C, Command V, or Control C, Control V, and you could just keep pasting. And I'm going to stop at 6 because I think this is a good amount to have for this container itself. And the other thing I'm going to do once again is I'm actually going to change the fill of this so that it's a little bit more visible for everyone that's at home. And once again, this will be important later on because when I actually throw this up on the web, it's going to be more visible in my live server. All right. Yeah. Command D duplicates. There are a ton of different keystrokes that you could use to, get everything duplicated. So definitely check that out. Oh man, we're almost at time. Sorry. Let me get a move on. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to our presentation here. So now that so basically what yours should look at like at home is here. And, obviously all of the instructions for copying and pasting are going to be there as well. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into dev mode. So basically, we're going to use a dev tool. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really simple. And then I'm going to demo actually adding this up and like, popping it up into a live server and showing it on the web. So first, we're going to start by selecting the container frame that we created and getting it ready for development or RFD. So we're going to click the dev mode button in the top right corner of the frame, and then this will make the frame easily selectable in dev mode. So only the frames selected as RFD are going to be able to basically implement dev mode. So let me show you that in the actual live demo. So here, for me, it's going to be this like element bracket here. I'm going to click that, make sure it's green, and then I'm going to scroll down to my command palette and hover over the rightmost option. And if you have dev mode enabled, you should see this as well. And then you're going to click that. And now I have dev mode. So the cool thing about this is you're going to be able to see all of the things that dev mode can actually do for you. As you can see here, I'm able to look at it in code mode, which is cool, or I could look at properties. So the properties are going to be like, the height, the width, the amount of padding there is. Like you'll also be able to see the colors that are being used. But if I switch back to code, you'll see I have CSS enabled right now. You're going to see all of the different CSS that we're using. It's not going to show everything. There's going to be more CSS that's actually available, but you can actually copy and paste this directly into your IDE if you'd like. If you look at this, you could look at iOS, you could look at the Swift UI, and this is going to be some of the, some of the code that you would use to actually design this in Swift UI. I don't use Swift UI. I'm not a big Swift UI user or developer, but like I said, if you're learning something new, this is probably a helpful tool to have, especially if you're new to the design elements and aspects of that language. Here, this is Compose for Android. And then you could also look at HTML. In like basically what you'll do is you'll just kind of drop down to the additional options that you have. So Figma to code, you're going to use HTML, and it's going to show you not maintained by Figma, so please give feedback. Interesting. All right, go to community page. I'm going to see what that's about. Usually what it would do is it would actually show the HTML that is associated here, but that's fine. Let's scroll around a little bit and see if React works. There you go. So React JSX works. Let's go back to HTML. There you go. For some reason, it was just kind of bugging out, but now you can see that the HTML is actually fully set up here. So this is the HTML, and there's 17 more lines of code. I could show them as well. This is the HTML. It's got the styling already embedded, which is really cool. And yeah, you'll see it here. It's all pretty much done. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and copy this to my clipboard. I'm going to switch over to my handy dandy VS Code, and I am going to create an HTML. HTML5, there you go. That's what I was waiting for. HTML5 doc, and now it's gonna plop everything in there for me. So this should be good to go. I've got an HTML file with all of my styling already embedded and all of the lorem ipsum, everything. And what I'm going to do is I am going to use my live server to get this up and running. And let's see. It should be popping up directly on my screen here. And as you can see, look, it's showing all of the text and all of the properties that I embedded onto those things directly from Figma, which is really cool. The only thing that's not going to display, obviously, is the image, because for the image you would actually have to have that in your source code as a file that's available and referenceable. But for now, like, this is pretty cool. Look, and yeah, someone mentioned it does flex for you, which is really cool. What is the size of the container inside? You could have it to any size that you'd like, and obviously it's going to display a little bit differently for everyone. But really, like, this is going to be a game changer for a lot of folks who aren't really good with HTML or just don't have a lot of familiarity with it. So definitely something to bear in mind. This is what it looked like here. Obviously, the container is a little bit smaller, but here in my web browser, it's a lot bigger. Let me see if I could actually change the sizing here. Yeah. So it kind of, does everything for you. It dynamically changes the alignment of these objects, which is really cool. How did you get all the cards to fit in the frame? So basically, what you're going to do is you're going to increase the size of the frame. Um, if you would recall, when I first started like copying and pasting things, sorry, I've got to get out of dev mode in order to alter this. And sorry, it's kind of bugging out on me a little bit. There you go. Okay. So once you're out of dev mode, you can't alter the frame in dev mode, but you can alter it once you switch it off. When I first created my frame, it was like this, which is not ideal. So I just like, I kind of f- edited the size of the frame. You could just basically hover over the frame itself, and then you'll see these square boxes on each corner, and then you could alter the size there. And that's pretty much it. That's the main gist of using Figma Dev Mode. We've that's exactly what we did today. We went in and we created an entire UI card project. We put it up on the web. You saw it up on my live server. The only thing different, yours should look something like this. The only thing different is we really just didn't have the images already popped up on there. But yeah, really what I would love for y'all to do is go in and kind of like, discover some of these features a little bit more on your own, jump in there and get a little bit messy. And if you have any other like feedback for us, please hit us up. Use the Figma survey here. I am going to go in and demo some more stuff for y'all. So if you want to stick around, feel free to do so. But I will drop the link to the survey here. If you got to drop, I know it was only scheduled for about an hour. Feel free to do so. But I am going to be jumping in and doing a little bit more demoing of some of the challenges that we have available for Global Hack Week. So take a screenshot or use the link that I provided. So right now, what I wanted to do was show y'all the VS Code plugin. So basically what I did was if you have VS Code, you just jump into the marketplace and you search for Figma for VS Code. And as you can see here, I've already got it installed. But the one thing to note is I actually installed this previously, and I used, like I said, I used the same account that I use in Figma and in VS Code and in GitHub. So everything sort of aligns with one another. And I was able to get this installed. So all you need to do for now is install it here. You're not going to be able to utilize it directly from VS Code. What you'll do is you'll jump into Figma and you'll activate dev mode again. Make sure that your frame is still RFD'd or basically flagged for development. And what happens is now you have dev resources popping up. You have this is the inspect, and this is like for code. Let me just click on this actual frame and it'll bring everything up that we had before. So once you select the frame and it's RFD or ready for development, what you can do is you can actually click on, so you have the same like ready status symbol here. Right next to that is going to be ellipses. And what you're going to do is click on that, and there should be an option for open in VS Code. So long as your Figma account is the same as your VS Code account, it'll all sort of like line up with one another. And what you do is you select that. And like I said, this is the old index HTML file that we used. But for Figma Dev Mode, it's going to pop up here, and you're going to kind of see the same, what's it called? You're going to see the same layout that you see in Figma, and it's going to be right here inside of VS Code. It's just thinking. While it thinks, let me go ahead and field some questions here. Oh, thank you, Mosafu. Appreciate you. Really great. Appreciate it. Yeah, Figma to code, really great. If you have time, please fill out the survey and let us know how things went. And as you can see here, I'm in VS Code right now. This is entirely my VS Code IDE, and it brought the entire Figma instance into the IDE with me. So if that's not exciting for y'all, I don't know what will be, because I thought this was pretty cool. And it basically gives you the same kind of feedback or the same kind of response that you would get inside of Figma itself. Now, As you can see, we've got the code generated here. It's going to be identical to the code that we used previously. And then you could still toggle from like one thing to another. So look, we've got CSS here, and this is going to be the CSS that's related. You can jump in. I think I asked someone asked me about styled components earlier. You could switch to styled components and it'll show you the code for that as well. And this is for React. Tailwind. There are probably plugins for things like Sass if you're using that as well. So this is pretty cool. All right, let's see if we have any additional questions as I am making my way through this. Now I can add Figma Master to my LinkedIn. Yeah, absolutely. If you are so inclined to do so, definitely do so. Tag me in it, tag MLH in it. We'd love to show you some support. How do you duplicate a frame? So yeah, you just hover over the frame and then you copy and paste. So let's go back here. If you're having any issues with manipulating some of the items inside of your Figma instance, just make sure that you leave dev mode first. So toggle off dev mode and really so I've got this large frame with all the smaller frames inside. I just click on the frame that I want to duplicate and I press Control C and V. That's not what I want. There you go. Copy and paste. All right. What event are you participating from? Oh, yeah. Let me add that for you. Let me add that for you. Keep the link handy, and I will go in and get that added after this workshop. But for now, if you wanna include like the previous Global Hack Week for now, you can do that. Apologies, folks. All right, so we've done the use Figma in VS Code challenge. So let me just bring up the challenges page real quick. Close out some of these windows. All right. So these are the challenges for this week. We got a couple of Figma ones. We've signed up for the Figma education account. Just take a screenshot of your acceptance page and drop it in when you submit. These are GitHub ones. Build your first component using Figma. We literally built like several components today, so you can use any of those. Take a screenshot of it and submit it in your challenge. Choose your favorite Figma design kit. So let's do this one. I know someone had asked about it previously. Let's bring up the question. Where can we find the Apple Figma template you just showed? Yeah. So let's go in and take a look at this challenge. So as you can see, this entire challenge has all of the steps that you need and some background information on how you can submit it or how you can complete it. In the resources, you're going to see a Figma, you're going to see a Figma UI kit library. And while that thinks, I'm just going to go ahead and do a refresher. So we had the iPad OS, we had the iOS 18 Material 3 design kit, and then also the simple design kit. And as you can see, so it's popped up already. As you can see, all three are available here. Just go to that challenge on our challenge page and then click on the resources link that we have available for you. And you'll be able to kind of take a look at all of these different design systems, and you could utilize them yourself. I won't go into utilizing them myself right now, but definitely take a look at everything and, peruse at your own leisure. And once you do that, basically you design something, a component, anything, using any of these design kits, and then you take a screenshot of it and then also submit the URL for your Figma instance. So if I go back to my live demo, I could share this with anyone. You could share the link here, copy the link, and you could add that into your submission. Cool. All right. So let's go back to challenges. So we got the Figma design kit. We kind of looked over that. explore Figma Dev Mode plugins. So there are a ton of different plugins for you to kind of like take a look at. If you explore the library here on the link that we provided, you can take a look at all of the different plugins that are available. What I like to do is there are paid ones and there are free ones. So I basically like to just like filter it down to the ones that are free, so you don't have to go in and actually pay for anything. So here, so you do that, and then you go to free. And there are a ton of different plugins. So I'm going to actually show you how to use one today. So I got one that was a QR code generator, and it's somewhere here. And if you go through this on your own, you'll kind of see a lot of the cool plugins that are available. But really what you do is you would just click on the open in Figma file once you have it, and then you'll go in, you'll be transported back to Figma, and you'll be able to use the dev mode plugin. So once again, enable dev mode in order to do this. And as you can see, once you're in the dev mode page, you're going to have like inspect. So you can click any of these, like, any of these frames that you have. And then you can also go into plugins. So from plugins, what I'm going to do is I am going to find the one that I was looking for. So I think it was like a QR code generator. We can search as well. QR code generator. Oh no. I know I'm not tripping. All right. Let's go back. I'm in comment mode for some reason. There you go. QR code. Maybe it's QR code like this. That's the wrong thing. QR. Okay. Interesting stuff, because I definitely saw it here before. Oh well, we could look for something else to use. Let's go back into the main file here. Paid and free. Maybe it was a paid one. I don't know. That was weird. And let's for Figma Dev Mode, it's all products, free. Oh, here. This was the one, QR code generator. So it's not something that is specific to Figma Dev Mode. So you could just open in, and it's going to bring you the files that you have open, or the files that you have available on your Figma account. And you're going to click that. Doop, 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 doop. Once it thinks and finishes thinking, we should have something pop up. Where can I find the challenges that I should submit? So I'm going to drop the link in here for you in chat. So it's Emily. So sorry, it's ghw.mlh.io/challenges. Okay, cool. So now that we have the QR code running, we're going to do run. Loading QR code generator. So now we have the QR code generator. And what I'm going to do is I am actually going to do a QR code for our challenges page, because someone just asked about it. Place the QR code. It pops up in the middle of the screen. We don't want it there. Oops. Select the whole thing. It does break down into separate components, so you want to make sure you select the entire QR code. And there you have it, a QR code specific to the Global Hack Week Challenges page. Let's make it bigger and let's zoom in on it. Someone try it out at home. Okay. Awesome. So that's another challenge that you could do. Like I said, you just use any type of plugin that you could find in the design store, so the dev mode plugin, any type of plugin, check it out. And I think the last one is use Figma to complete any of this week's challenges. So the one here is, you just go in and you kind of take a look at all of the different challenges. For instance, there is a challenge about like designing your own sticker. That would be a great challenge to complete using Figma. There are some, yeah, here, design your own sticker. Design your own sticker with Figma. That's two challenges in one. Let's see, build a Pokédex. You could even design some of the aspects of your website using Figma, like Figma Dev Mode for that as well. There are a couple of other really cool challenges in here that you could definitely use Figma for here. The design an icon set for an app. So if you want to design icons, it's really simple to do on Figma itself. You could actually bring in existing designs to Figma and then alter them using Figma. So definitely a ton of cool challenges that you could do using Figma. And if you're going to be at AI Hackfest, make sure that you actually use Figma, and then maybe whatever you build, you can demo it during Global Hack Week a little bit later this week. So it's actually a new initiative, and this is going to be the last thing I think I talk about. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone who stuck around. I know most folks couldn't wait until the end of the hour, which is fine. We were only scheduled up until 1 p.m. EST. But if you want, but for the folks that actually did stay, if you want to actually demo the things that you build throughout Global Hack Week, we have a link for that. Basically, submit what you built, fill out the form, submit what you built, and what we'll do is we'll bring you up onto one of our live streams later in the week to allow you to demo what it is that you built, because we want to make sure that the folks that are in the community, staying active and learning new things, are actually being highlighted and being celebrated, because we love y'all and we want to make sure that y'all are having a good time and y'all are seeing content that is actually relevant to your personal experiences. So what could be more relevant than an actual fellow community member building something and learning something new at Global Hack Week, and then showing the world what they have and what skills they've got. So definitely check that out. I'm gonna call it here. We basically did all of the challenges together. There should be no excuse for anyone on the stream to not have all of the Figma challenges done. Once again, if you have any issues with the challenge page itself, it is a new layout this month. So definitely make sure that you're signed into OHQ. Make sure that you've checked in and registered for the workshop. The links are going to be in the channel as well on Discord. So make sure you check us out there if you have any additional questions. But outside of that, yeah, it's been real. Had a great time with y'all. I appreciate it. Looks like we have one last question, and I will answer that because I have time today. When I went to dev mode, I'm told to upgrade. Is it normal for a student account? No. So basically what happens is, if you're not on the student account, like, you could be accessing Figma with a different account potentially, but what you need to do is you need to go back to where the projects are listed, and then you need to enable that project as part of your student account, if that makes sense. And if you basically want a step-by-step on how to do that, it's going to be MLH link GHW8PI 425 Figma video. So Lunatica Bell, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Yeah, make sure you head over to that website that I just provided, and you'll see a video, an instructional video on how to set up your project so that it is enabled with all of the education account perks. And as far as our Discord goes, discord.mlh.io. I know someone else put up a link there, but this one's a lot easier to remember and type in. Awesome. And with that, once again, I'm Rosendo from MLH. Had a great time with y'all. Really love talking and connecting with the community. I hope y'all had a great time as well. Thank you for all the questions and the engagement. I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your week participating in Global Hack Week. I will be here once again for day 2 check-in stream, so make sure you check me out tomorrow at 12 p.m. EST. And coming up next, we've also got the Intro to Git workshop, and that's going to be at around 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. 2 p.m. So definitely check that out. We've got some great content in line for y'all. If you have any questions, please meet us at Discord. And also, happy hacking, y'all. With that, I will be saying goodbye. Take it easy.